Hello and welcome back to Walk to Cinema and our coverage of Best Picture nominees. This is the third one, The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, this was a movie I wasn't too sure about. Very popular or very well-known actors are kind of leads. We have Colin Farrell, who plays our main character, Podrick, and Brendan Gleeson, who plays Colum.
Yeah, and a director I truly like, Martin McDonagh. He's made a lot of good movies. Well, a lot is not really the way of putting it, but every time he makes a movie, it's good, in my opinion. In Bruges is probably one of the best Colin Farrell performances. And it's really, really funny. And then Three Billboards is not as, laugh out loud funny, but it's still a great comedy drama. There's more of a drama, and this is also a great comedy drama, in my opinion.
No, it did have some really funny moments in this movie. Even though I think that the overall vibe of this is also very sad. I feel like so far all the Oscar movies we've covered have been sad.
I think that's the formula.
Yeah, maybe. Even Avatar, even though it's not crazy sad, it's still sad. It still has very sad elements. But anyway, the main premise of the movie is Colum just decides one day that he doesn't want to be Podrick's friend anymore because he's dull and boring, and he's getting to a point where he wants to be remembered during his life, and he feels like living on this little island off of Ireland, doing just talking, just chatting is going nowhere. So he abruptly ends the friendship, and then, things ensue.
Right. It is very obviously comparing itself to the war in Ireland, the civil war that was happening, that was brutal. And it was terrible, and it was, historically, just Ireland always is going to look back at it as one of their darkest moments. And this friendship mirrors what happens in the war. Yeah. Maybe not at the beginning. Maybe at the beginning it's not as obvious, but, at the end it is. Yeah. Especially the ending, which we're not going to, I guess we'll get through a little later.
Yeah. But yeah, it starts off, I thought we were kind of in present day Ireland, just because, I don't know, thinking of people that live in villages.
You think they all talk like that?
They all talk like that, and they all dress like that. So I was like, oh, we're in present time. This is crazy. And then it alludes to the fact that they're in 1920, whatever. And
23.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I get it. We're in the Civil War time. The Ireland Civil War time, and we'll see how this plays out. So, Podrick is a character that he gets called dull by Colum, and he is a little dull.
And he's dumb. I mean, we don't assume he's dumb in the beginning, but you kind of realize that he's just dumb.
Yeah, he's not very learned.
I think there's the point he realizes that the village idiot knows more things than he does.
Yeah. And that's kind of the comedy aspect of it, where you have these sets of characters, right, that are all interacting, and everyone considers Dominic, who's played by Barry Keoghan. I don't know how you say his last name. But he's kind of the village idiot. He drinks and he gets beaten by his dad and stuff like that. And he's just kind of, he's slow, but he still knows more than Podrick does in some aspects. And so I think that there is kind of maybe I am the village idiot instead.
Right. He starts getting, in his own head that everyone's making fun of him behind his back, and that everyone thinks he's dumb and dull and all that. Colin Farrell is really good in this.
Yeah.
And he's really good at portraying this slow realization that maybe he is dull, or maybe he kind of just does the same stuff every day.
Yeah, but I think that he's kind of content with that. Like,
right.
I think because there is like this battle, I guess, between like being remembered for an achievement or being remembered for like how you treated people, kind of. Like, that's a very simplified version of this, right? So there's a scene in the movie where Podrick gets drunk and he confronts Colum about it, and Colum's like, well, people remember Mozart from the 17th century because he wrote this beautiful music, and like, you don't know anybody from the 17th century that was just nice, you know? And Podrick's like, I remember my mom and my dad.
Was nice.
My dad, they were nice, and my sister's nice, and I remember them. And he's like, no one else is gonna remember them. Like, you're the only person. Like, Mozart's remembered by hundreds, millions, because Colum is a folk musician, and he's been trying to write like a song that he can be remembered by when he dies. And, you know, that scene in particular also kind of highlights at the end, because Siobhan, his Podrick's sister, comes and leads him away. And she kind of puts Colum in his place by saying Mozart wasn't the 17th century, he was the 18th century. So she's kind of calling him out that he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
And it's also like, yeah, you remember him, but you don't know him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you might know who Mozart is as a concept, but you don't even know what century he was alive in.
Yeah.
So what does it matter? Like, you don't actually know this man. You don't remember this man. You remember his music at best.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, whether or not you think that is like a life worth living, you know, is kind of like up to the interpreter. But so this is a story about, you know, how things can just get out of hand, you know,
where they escalate.
Yes.
With serious repercussions.
Yes. And like, it's kind of hard to compare to today's society, because, you know, a lot of people, if you don't want to be friends with someone, you just ghost them.
Yeah.
Like, you just stop replying to them.
You live in a city.
Yeah.
You live in a big city. You're never going to cross them on accident.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in not a huge city, and it's not like we're going to see people we know every time we go out.
Yeah.
And this is everyone you see, you know. There's no one you don't know.
Yeah, everyone knows everyone because it's just a small little island. But so, you know, it's like a struggle of like, it's not that Podrick did anything wrong to Colum. Colum just doesn't want to be his friend anymore, and he's willing to go to such extremes to keep Podrick away from him that he's willing to cut off his own fingers if Podrick so much as like talks to him.
Right. Which sounds like, you know, it's an extreme, like, if you bother me, I will cut my fingers so you learn your lesson. But I the whole movie, I felt like that's an excuse.
Yeah.
Where he feels like he can't write a good song. So his excuse for not writing a good song is like, I had to cut my fingers off because of this guy. Yeah, so he's blaming someone else for not being able to do the music anymore. Yeah,
and he also kind of does that by not wanting to be his friend to begin with. He thinks that Colin Farrell's character is the reason why he can't focus on writing.
He's blaming Podrick the whole time for his own lack of talent.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't do anything because you're so dull, because you're wasting my time. It's like, but when he does write a song, it's just not good, and that's what some people tell him.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not good, personally, but I don't really know anything about that type of music.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point of it is like, it's not anything masterful,
right?
You know?
Can't, but he wants a way out, and he doesn't want to admit that he can't write a song worth remembering. So he kind of blames it on Podrick, and I think that's when you start realizing that this is just a comparison with the Civil War and the sides of the war.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know enough about the war to be like, oh, he represents the IRA and he represents the others. Like, I'm not going to compare it to that level.
No, I don't think it needs to.
I just don't know it, but I'm sure there's like, that comparison can be made, and I'm sure when they were writing this they had that in mind. Mm-hmm. But that's too niche to the Irish crowd. But I think the movie works even without comparing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like I said, it also represents like the spiralization, I guess, of conflict in general.
Right. It doesn't need to be necessarily like you need to know the history of Ireland to... Mm-hmm. It works as a movie on its own. It's very funny. It's very dark. Mm-hmm. It's very suspenseful. And it gets very sad because Jenny, which is my favorite character.
Yeah, Jenny's the best character.
She's a little miniature donkey.
Yeah. And
she acts like a little dog.
And she's just so cute in the movie.
And she ends up dying because of all this finger cutting crap.
Yeah, she chokes on his finger.
Incredibly sad.
It's so sad. And especially at the time that it happens, like...
Yeah, it happens at the time where he couldn't lose anything else.
Yeah, he's lost his friend. His friend, like, has already cut off all of his fingers and is blaming him for it.
His sister left.
His sister has gone to the mainland because she is a smart character, you know, and she's over being on this island where everybody like criticizes her for, you know, not being married and, you know, she just doesn't like life there anymore.
Yeah, and she realizes if she can't achieve anything there, she can leave. Opposed to Calm, where he thinks he can't achieve anything, but he still stays and blames others.
Yeah, she doesn't want to turn into these people, so she decides to leave. And so Patrick losing Jenny is just kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, during his time that we see during the story, like his progression, we see him as like a really caring kind of guy, or he's at least sweet. Mm-hmm. You know, he's gentle. And then, you know, as the movie progresses, he tells some man that is a musician that is getting close to Calm, that his father had been hit really by that is dying because he got run over by a bread van. And
then we find out that his mother died because she got run over by a bread van.
Yeah.
And it's funny, right? Because it portrays itself as funny, but in reality, if that happened in real life, that's so freaking mean.
Yeah, it is. And like, it's not like today where you can just call your parent just to make sure. Like, he had to go all the way back to...
Yeah, you gotta get on your boat and paddle.
Yeah, go back to the mainland.
Yeah, very mean, but it kind of shows that he's kind of just getting tired of this.
Yeah.
And he's willing to go to more extremes that aren't him. Like, they're not the real him.
Yeah. Like
he's being pushed by the situation.
Yeah. And Dominic even says, like, when Patrick, like, confesses that that's what he did, Dominic says, "I thought you were the nicest person here, but that was probably the meanest thing I've ever heard anyone ever do." And, you know, I think that also is like a turning point where like Colin Farrell's character is kind of like, I have to go to more extremes now because now we're just brawling. And after Jenny dies, it really is like we're just brawling. So he goes and finds Colin at the pub and says, "You killed my donkey with your fat fingers.
I'm going to set your house on fire at 2 p.m. Be ready."
I'm going to be doing this. I'm not going to check before I set it on fire. If you're in there, so be it. Leave your dog outside. I don't want to hurt your dog.
Right.
And so...
Which he could have, right? You had moments where he could have just, like, if he really wanted to get at Calm, he could have just killed the dog.
Yeah.
But the dog didn't do anything wrong, and that's the Patrick character. Mm-hmm. He's caring, and he realizes that he likes the dog.
Yeah.
And he's not just gonna hurt the dog to hurt someone else.
Yeah. And Colin didn't mean to kill Jenny. He feels remorseful.
Right. No, that wasn't on purpose, but it is
the unfortunate it's again the unfortunate consequence of war. Like innocents get, you know,
the innocents get the stray bullets.
And even I think that this can be applied to a lot of different scenarios where like you have a divorce happening and it could be very highly
damaging to the kids.
Damaging to the kids when the parents are brawling. Like they can leak onto the kids being yelled at by both parents for things that like the other parents said.
That's just, the movie's just so well written.
Yeah. It can be applied
it's
to
well
a lot.
written as a drama, it's well written as a comedy, and it's well written as an allegory for, this is clearly more than the surface, right? Mm-hmm. This is just something that is kind of like a brain.
It's a thinker.
Yeah, it pulls on your brain the whole time, where you're like, this is clearly more, right? He's not just cutting his fingers for no reason.
Yeah.
This old lady's just not calling for death for no reason.
Yeah. Which her character, the old woman that comes and like tells him that death is coming to the island and stuff, like she's the character that confuses me the most.
I think she's death, because she's the one that tells the cop that Dominic is dead, and she's wearing all black, and she has like a scythe or whatever you call it in her hand. They call her a ghoul, or they kind of point that she's the banshee in the Banshees of Inisherin. But I think she's death.
I don't know.
She represents death.
I think that I'm okay with her being kind of an enigma in this.
Right.
And
she's
then,
not super important. The death of Dominic is also, I don't understand it. I understand it's a punishment for the father in a way, because the father's the biggest asshole.
Yeah.
He's a cop that abuses power, beats his kid, he molests him, maybe? I think that's pointed at. And I get that it's kind of a punishment, because in the beginning he mentions that some kid killed himself in the lake, and it was a waste of life. He's an idiot for doing it. And then his kid dies in the lake. Yeah.
I don't know what his death like represented in the grand scheme of things.
I can't tell you in specific what it meant. It was a little confusing, but I do understand that it comes around to the father.
Yeah.
But that's not the main plot line.
It's not. And then, at the end, we have this, I think, a pretty...
Because Calm survives the fire.
Yeah, he leaves at some point, which I thought was like a funny kind of thing. That
where it's like, I'm going to die in this fire. And then it's like, oh, never mind, it's actually kind of hurts.
It's getting a little hot, yeah. Because Patrick said he wasn't going to check before he set the house on fire, which he didn't. He set it on fire, and then he kind of feels some sense of guilt, and he checks to see if Colin is like still inside, which he is. Yeah. But it's not like he goes and saves him or anything. He just kind of leaves after that. It's just kind of like, I'm going to see if he's in there. But at some point he got out. He couldn't take the heat. So his house is burned down, and they're standing on the beach where his house is located, and Calm's kind of like, okay, so we're even now. Like
we're never even.
Yeah. Until
one of us dies.
Yeah.
It's like, I think he said we'd only be even if you stayed in a house and burned with it or something.
Yeah.
And they kind of allude to, it's over for now, but we'll be back.
Kind of.
Like the battle's over, but the war will come back. And that's where it like clearly alludes to the Civil War in Ireland, which didn't really end in the 1920s. So it is obvious at that point. Yeah. But I still really like the ending.
Yeah. And I think there was a quote about how like some things just can't be forgotten or forgiven. And I think that is also something that is very true in just kind of like even outside of war, like the war allegory. There are things that people say to people all the time that you can't take back, even if you don't necessarily mean to or mean it. What's said is said, what's done is done. Sometimes you have to live with those repercussions,
And this just ends
on a sad note,
Yeah, and no one wins.
No one wins.
Everyone loses. Everyone loses something that they cared about. Their house, their little pretty donkey.
Yeah.
And just no, it's just sad. And
it is sad. And the note that Patrick writes to his sister, where he kind of lies and says that everything is going great. Jenny's staring at me while I write this. And then he kind of like, oh yeah, and Dominic died.
Yeah, so he can't take care of.
Yeah, so he can't take care of the animals. So I can't come visit you. He was like, oh, I hope you come back. And then like you see him laying in his bed looking at his sister's bed on the other side of the room, and he says, please come home. And it's just really sad to me.
Yeah, he has nothing.
He really has nothing.
And it's kind of not his fault, which I don't know if McDaw, I don't know how to say his name proper, I guess. I don't know if he made this movie with the intent of like, one side is wrong, one side is right, or one side is righter,
more right, yeah.
and the other side is wronger, but it kind of feels like it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Colm is like the main aggressor,
right? And he's not right at all. Like, it could. Like, I guess it's a choice if it doesn't want to be someone's friend. It's just not very nice.
Yeah,
as everyone tells him, but
he goes to extremes.
Yeah,
to, like,
he pushes it too far.
Yeah,
and Patrick is just the nice guy that loses.
Yeah, and I think that
he has nothing.
I think that at the end, the feud kind of becomes his purpose, though.
Yeah.
Like, he has nothing, so like the only thing that he can grasp onto is this feud. So he's going to hang on to that.
If
feud.
he already lost everything, there's nothing else to lose, so he might as well
go all in. Yeah.
It's a great movie, great screenplay. Mm-hmm. I give it an 8 out of 10, but it could be a 9. It could go up because it's so good. Yeah, it is good, and it begs to be watched more than once. Yeah. And I think you could be tricked into thinking it's just a comedy drama, and it's just not that. It's so much more. And the screenplay just is so much deeper than what it appears at the beginning. Yeah. And it's not deep because he cuts his fingers. It's the allegories, and it's everything that happens is just not necessarily smart, mm-hmm. but it does keep you thinking the whole time, and I like it a lot.
Yeah. I also gave it an 8. I really liked the performances. You can relate to a lot of the characters, I would say. Like, you can relate to Colm, like, oh, I don't want to be forgotten when I die. You know? There's a lot of people that are lonely, and I think that he's lonely. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have kids. He just kind of has a friend and, like, the town, and he feels like his moments are fleeting, and he even talks about how during his confessional that the priest asks him, how is the despair? And he says, oh, it's coming back, or it's gone. He talks about it. So I think that it just kind of shows that he is going through like a depression. He's kind of near the end of his life. And then with Podrick, like, sometimes you just want to be remembered as being nice. You just mm-hmm. want to live your life as simply as possible. And, like,
and besides the main characters, mm-hmm. which I guess we didn't mention, the little side characters, mm-hmm. we really get to know the people of the island, and I really like it. We get to know the priest, and it's kind of implied that he's gay. Yeah. We get to know the shop owner that's just awful.
She loves the gossip.
Yeah, she loves the tea, but she's awful about it. She's way too aggressive with it. She opens letters. We get to know the bar owner to some extent, and I love him. I think he's great. Mm-hmm. He's funny. I love that. It kind of builds a little cozy world.
Yeah, it does build a little cozy world. And even, I think there's a lot of stuff that we haven't, like, mentioned, and we probably can't mention everything.
No, it's impossible.
But, I think there are moments where the characters are kind of, like, not necessarily dogging on Podrick for being dull, but, like, they're kind of like, oh, it's okay that you're dull. Like, not everyone can be as smart, or, like, they're not saying that in so many words, but then, like, it's the barkeep and the other guy that's sitting there, and he's just it's just his friend, and
they repeat each other.
They repeat each other, so it's kind of like they're doing the same thing, like they're not really contributing.
Right.
They're the same as him, but he's just down on his luck, so they're kind of like, it kind of feels like they think they're better than him.
Yeah, I do love the side characters, but going on to the nominations, this guy 9, 2 actors in a supporting role for Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan.
Keoghan, that's how you say it.
And yeah, really deserved them. And just everyone in this, like, there's like 20 actors that are like really good in this.
Yeah, and I'd say that those supporting actors are really good, and they do like immerse you within the story.
And then there's a supporting actress for Carrie Condon, the sister. Yeah, she's also great.
Yeah,
and then the leading role performance for Colin Farrell Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Like I said, like this whole movie, like it really is effortless in making you believe that these are who they are. You know, these people are who they are. And it's just like a nice, it's so sad, but it does kind of feel like a nice cozy little hug, you know? Like one of those types of movies.
It's sad, but it just creates such a good environment. Then it got film editing, which I'm not an editor, so it's like I can't really pick at it in the most like technical form, but it seemed perfectly suitable. I didn't see anything wrong with the editing. It worked fine. Yeah. Then it got original screenplay, which again, I love the screenplay, obviously. And then Martin McDonagh also got director as well as writer. So yeah, he
did good.
He did great. I think he created a world without trying too hard. Like it's a movie that doesn't try too hard to be great. Like it seems less than what it is, but then once you're thinking about it, there's just so many more aspects that don't slap you in the face with how obvious they are, but they're all there.
Yeah.
And it's really good at that. And then original score, which I don't think it's a great original score, but it's good. It's not as great as we talked about in like All Quiet on the Western Front, for example. And then obviously Best Picture of the Year.
Yeah. It's one of my, definitely one of my favorites that I've seen this year, like, so there's no begrudging.
And it feels like a Best Picture nominee too.
Yeah.
Which is something you can't say about everything. Like we're going to talk about some movies that, even if they're good, they just don't feel like something that would be nominated or something that would historically be what the Academy
likes.
Yeah, but this does. This is just like a classic comedy drama. I think people will forget about this movie, unfortunately. I think in like a couple of years, people aren't really going to be talking about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if it wins Best Picture, because it's not like something groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But sometimes, again, this makes me happy. So sometimes that's all you need. You just need a really kind of cozy movie that's not super heavy, but it still has the themes.
Deeper meanings, yeah.
And it's a good watch.
I agree. But I think that is all for this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, and continue on this journey with us as we cover the Best Picture nominations for the 2023 Oscars.